Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about The Muppet Christmas Carol from 1992. And this is a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. This is a holiday favorite of mine. I watched it as a kid. I remember drunkenly watching it about 10 years ago at a family gathering I wanted to avoid, and then having kids come in and asking me who Gonzo was, and I explained in way too much detail. And I didn't say anything bad. I just explained the plot of Muppets from Space. But one of the things I really like about The Muppet Christmas Carol is the very idea of it. This is the fourth theatrically released Muppet movie, and to take a already established story and then make it starring the Muppets is an awesome idea. I'm surprised they didn't do this before, and supposedly it was pitched by a producer to Brian Henson. It was originally supposed to be a TV movie, but the Walt Disney executives liked it so much because it was originally a TV movie for ABC, and the Walt Disney executives liked it so much, they're like, why don't we try to release this theatrically? The Christmas Carol story has been done so many different ways and so many different times, and in fact, as a kid, I was sort of used to seeing different cartoons I liked do versions of it, whether it be Mr. Magoo or the Flintstones or Mickey Mouse. So this made sort of total sense to me then. But I also like that we've never seen a puppet Christmas Carol to this degree, with state-of-the-art special effects and puppets and everything that really kind of get into the very story of it, where it's kind of played like a funny kid's story, but you can still be very classical with it. It's kind of like the best kind of family movie, which works very well for the Muppets. The Muppets are very all-audience, and I think this works in a very all-audience sort of way, but they still play it very straight, particularly what they're doing with Michael Caine, who apparently, when he got the role, said, I'm going to play this completely straight. I'm going to play this like I'm in the Royal Shakespeare Company. I'm not doing anything Muppety. That was really smart. Now, it should be noted that the role of Ebenezer Scrooge is a major role for English actors. Patrick Stewart does a one-man show of it every Christmas, I think, or every other Christmas. I don't know. I've never seen it, but I always hear about it. It is kind of a major role that actors want to do. Michael Caine considers it one of his best roles, and I think he does actually a really great performance, but he's effectively playing the straight man. Now, he's not doing the straight man in the traditional sense, in that he's very much playing off of their comedic side. I wouldn't call it a comedy. I think it's maybe the least funny Muppet movie. I'm not trying to be mean to it. I think it's appropriately the least funny Muppet movie, probably, but he is playing kind of the main story. I mean, the main crux of this movie and the star of this film is Michael Caine. It's not Kermit. This is the first time Kermit's not the star of a Muppet movie, most notably. But I think what Michael Caine is doing is smart, because he's effectively giving his great actor Ebenezer Scrooge performance, and it has some really, really great moments, really, really great touches to it, and shows what a great actor Michael Caine is. I think he can even get very raw in certain sections. One section which I guess I could talk about it with Paul Williams later, but the When Love Is Gone song, which apparently was cut out theatrically, then put back in for certain home video releases, and because I watched this on Disney Plus, was taken out again and was an extra. I actually thought it was weird when I watched the scene and it went by really quick. I was like, that's sort of a major plot point, that this marriage just sort of didn't work out. They're just yeah, I guess we don't got money, and I can't get a house, so whatever, girl, just walk off. And Rizzo's crying, and you're I mean, that's sad, but that scene was very brief and felt weird. It should be, because the film has another section in it. I noticed it's in some home video releases and then isn't in others, and I've definitely seen it before, but I only remember watching this film on VHS, so maybe they had one with it, I don't remember, but it did feel weird when it wasn't there. But Michael Caine is very raw and vulnerable in that moment, and it almost felt, oh, this is crazy. He's doing some very serious, crazy, emotionally raw kind of acting, which we don't entirely see from Michael Caine a lot. I don't think he's known for that, but obviously he's a great actor, and that scene really took me aback by how spellbinding that scene was, and Katzenberg made them cut it because he thought it was too serious. But I think the movie could go there. I think the movie could have handled it. I wish Disney Plus would just release the real cut of it instead of I don't know why, come on, nobody's gonna get that upset at this point, but whatever, that's what they chose to do, and have the Simpsons in 4-3 and all that. I think that scene in particular shows how serious Michael Caine was taking this. He wasn't taking this as hey, I'm doing this thing with the Muppets. He's I'm going to do my great Ebenezer Scrooge performance, And most likely kids are going to grow up with this. Most likely it's going to be his biggest performance, one of his most known performances because of the Muppets. I just think he does a really good job. I like when actors like take on something that most people wouldn't take as seriously and put themselves all into it, where like Alec Guinness in Star Wars, something like that. And I got that very much from Michael Caine in this movie. Sadly, this film didn't really do well at the box office. And I was a kid when this came out, and I will say its main competition were two major films from my childhood: Home Alone 2, which I definitely saw in the theaters, and Aladdin, which I also definitely saw in theaters, and then this, and came out at the same time as all that was going on, and didn't do as well. Now, I have to say, I didn't see this movie in theaters. I saw it on home video. I saw it at friends' houses and Christmas parties and all that stuff, and I think it got very well remembered on home video. But the fact of the matter is between Aladdin and Home Alone 2, although I think this is better than Home Alone 2, I don't think it's better than Aladdin. I think this definitely got swallowed. It totally got swallowed up. As well as, and I've not found any articles about this, it's just something I remember from when it came out. I remember I was a kid and thinking, how could this film exist? Jim Henson is dead. How could you have the Muppets? And I remember like the day Jim Henson died and everything. So that was a big moment, you know, as a kid, like understanding that the guy who made the Muppets in Sesame Street was no longer alive. So I think for a lot of people, they'd sort of said goodbye, and maybe the Muppets as well. And I remember even my parents going like, I don't know, his son directed it or something. Like, I remember a lot of hesitation around its release because this was the first major Muppet thing post his death. I know there were specials, but and so forth, and specials to show Steve Whitmire had taken over Kermit and things like that. But I do remember that. And I remember that was like sort of the reason we didn't see it in theaters, because I think we even talked about it. I have this vivid memory of it. It wasn't Jim Henson, so we wouldn't. I don't know if that was true of the other public. I really couldn't find negative articles like saying like Brian Henson, what the fuck, because this was his directorial debut, and I think it's a pretty impressive directorial debut. Even Michael Caine, everything I've read, like he was on set, didn't even realize it was this guy's directorial debut, which is amazing. And really, he hadn't directed much before this, at least in TV. Maybe done obscure short films that aren't on IMDb or something, but he definitely knew his way around a set, apparently. And you can show that this is not a directorial debut in terms of how it looks. I mean, it is actually, but it doesn't feel that way. And I like the puppets that they make for Ghosts of Future Past, Present, and Future. Originally, they were going to have Robin or Scooter play the Ghosts of Christmas Past, have Miss Piggy play the Ghosts of Christmas Present, and Gonzo was going to play the Ghosts of Christmas Yet to Come, but they scrapped that and decided to make wholly new puppets to kind of treat this material properly. And that's one of the interesting things, is as goofy as this film can be in some I actually don't think it's that goofy, but as much as they're being sort of technically like liberal with the material and having the Muppets in it, they really try to tell the story effectively, which is I also think is why this film resonates so well, because like the baby kind of thing that was weird. The only one that looks like a normal kind of Muppet is Christmas Present, and the future one where it's like they green screened a puppet in water and like put it in this, and it has this weird feel to it. I really like that. I thought that was fantastic, and I really like the songs. Actually, I know this is Paul Williams back again. I think the songs are really great. It's probably why the songs are so good, because Paul Williams is involved. Much more of a dramatic role for Kermit. It's a different kind of role, which than Jim Henson would do, which I think is kind of a good introduction, because you as an audience instantly know this is not your regular Kermit, so you're kind of more used to it than you normally would. I mean, I would have liked more Fozzie frankly, and it is very Gonzo heavy. Probably is more Gonzo than Kermit, because Gonzo and Rizzo are playing the narrators, or he's playing Charles Dickens, which I think is fun. I generally think this is, for me, probably the Christmas Carol I've seen the most. I've seen more straight adaptations and Scrooged and things like that, and there's always different movie versions of A Christmas Carol, and that's fine, that's cool, but this is one that always stays with me and has a real resonance for me as a film, and it always kind of surprised me how dark it can get, how interesting it can get, how it can push boundaries, how good of a director Brian Henson can really be. I feel like we often don't talk about how good of a director he is, the Muppet films he directed, this being kind of his trilogy of Muppet films, which I think people have very pleasant memories of. And this concept is a great concept. It's been a while since I've seen Muppet Treasure Island, and knowing that you guys have basically voted for me to review each Muppet movie, I feel like that's coming. But it is a great concept. The Muppets should be used a lot more, frankly. And it did feel like at the time this wasn't fully appreciated. I sort of didn't realize it came out in 92. I thought it came out in like 94 until I researched it after watching. I was like, oh, this is 92. And then I can see why it got just swallowed up, because that was a crazy holiday season, and you can't really demand that much from families. I'm surprised Disney put this out the same time as a major animated thing, but at the same time, like, when else can you put this out? I mean, you know what I mean? Or maybe a little earlier or something. It came out like right before Christmas, so December 11th. Well, a whole 14 days of release there. I'm sure people saw it after, but would you really? The Muppets, and I think what Brian Henson was doing is like doing what his father did, and that is pushing puppetry and the Muppets into new different directions. And I think there was talk of a fourth Muppets film, the cheapest Muppets movie, and things like that. It never came to fruition. I mean, this is obviously the fourth Muppets movie, but the fourth Muppets movie under Jim Henson, I don't really know what that script would have been, but the fourth Muppet movie we got, I think, is probably my second favorite, to be honest with you. It's one that I really love and love watching around Christmas, and I don't watch it every year, I'd say. I kind of want to now. I really enjoyed it, and I think because it's such an interesting, fun world, the whole idea of it, with a great Scrooge performance. I've heard people talk about George C. Scott and the classic Hollywood version of, I think it's just called Scrooge as well, or Scrooge, and all these, and I think those are great performances, but you hear this story so many times, it almost feels boring to see a traditional take. And I think what the Muppets did with A Christmas Carol is give it new life, but also make it fun and show you how great that story is. Having great actors go through this classic story is one thing, but having the Muppets breathe fun and new life into it and kind of make it alive again and show that imagination, which the story clearly had and why it's lived on for so long, I think gives this story almost the respect it deserves, because it gives it the life it deserves. I think that's what I've always liked about this version, is it gives it a life that you almost can't deny on Christmas, and kind of gives you that Christmas feeling, while also, getting to see the Muppets, which is also always a fun experience. It's just a really wonderful take on it, because I think it's respectful while at the same time being a lot of fun. And I don't think there's a lot of Christmas Carol takes that can do both of those as well as the Muppet Christmas Carol really does. So if you have seen the Muppet Christmas Carol and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. This is a winner of my Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month.